Welcome to all on Women Dialogues. And I'm your host, Shashi, with you all to create more women voice for women and by women. And today's our guest, Dr. Nadine, who is the CEO of Open Geospatial Consortium, OGC, leading the future of location with community, with technology and standards for the good of society. She did her PhD in information system engineering from MIT, USA. We will be knowing and hearing more from her about her work and life by herself. So let's welcome our today's guest, Dr. Nadine. So welcome Nadine on this platform.
Thank you so much, Shashi. Thank you for creating this platform. This is one of the blessings or silver linings of the pandemic, that we are able to connect, and I'm able to meet amazing, inspirational people like you. So thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having such positive vibes and those encouraging words for us as well. And I believe it will be keep going in the same way. It's such a great pleasure to be with you, Nadine. So before getting deeper about your OGC, about your work, let's start knowing about your childhood and growing up journey, challenges, experience, how all those learning help you to get closer to your work or further your journey in life.
I think, like you're saying, childhood influences who we are. So I grew up in Beirut, Lebanon. And what was it? The first 22 years of my life, it was the Civil War. And I really think people don't know what war is until they really live in it. So for us, we grew up in Civil War. It meant very little electricity. When you have it, it's a blessing. The carry your groceries, 6 flights up the stairs because elevators were there. It meant not going to school regularly. Sometimes you're lucky if you went 1 or 2 months for the whole year. And worst of all, it meant knowing early on what death is. And I think that's a very, a serious, real thing as a kid to actually experience. I wouldn't say it's experiencing violent death, right? But at the same time, I think if you know any Lebanese people, it also teaches you resilience in a way that you cannot be taught anywhere else. Because, and I tell them, one of the biggest lessons that I have learned is, so during the war, the bombs, they fly all over and they explode. And you get those the shrapnels, right?
Yeah.
And pretty much on a weekly basis, your glass, every window in your house is out, is down, right? And what did the Lebanese people do every day? Wake up and put up new glass. This attitude, you get crushed and you stand up in the morning and you try to do it better. I think it's one of the most, lessons that, become part of you. It's not even a lesson. It just becomes who you are.
Right.
And then there's, since we're in the pandemic and all, it's good to also mention. So I used to think, we were so small and the world was so big. And you say, I'm dying over here. Why isn't anybody doing anything about it? Because when you get the chance to open the TV, you see everybody having fun, right? And I feel in the pandemic we're sort of like, each country is every man for himself, and so we have a lot of ways to go. So on the good thing though, personally I turn to books, right? So sometimes when you hide from reality, during the war, I hid in books because they create, worlds for you. And that got me to be like the top student in school. And then it got me a scholarship to study at the American University of Beirut because we wouldn't have even afforded it. So at the time, my mom actually would not let me go take the entrance exam because she said, this will raise your hopes and we cannot afford to actually send you there. So why do this to yourself, right?
Right.
So I snuck out with a friend of mine and we did the entrance exam. And I was in the top 10. And because I was in the top 10, I got a scholarship. And then the same thing happened again. Yeah, it's amazing. So it's like I studied in the best university in Beirut, and then I got a scholarship then to go to MIT, which is, again, I would never ever have imagined that it's possible. So sometimes it's like, you know, that it's resilience, persistence. That's not on purpose. You don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I want to, you know, it's like, it's who you are.
Right.
And now I'm here. Through a long journey.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the way you said these shattering movements sometimes become your learning moments. Definitely, we don't want to learn, we don't want to experience in this way.
Yeah.
And it's sad when we hear. But as you said, each day it's like becoming part of your culture, part of your personality. That resilience is a part of your personality. Okay, window is down, no matter. You wake up and then you put again. So definitely these things lead further our resilience in our life, in our career. And I think in the same way, you shown in your studies, in your work and everywhere. So Nadine, at the same time you worked with NASA as well. You was a NASA applied science program senior technical advisor and all. So how you cover this journey from, we heard from you like you was in top 10, then you got in education and MIT and all, then how it leads further? Please continue.
Yeah, so I think, so back to that point, somebody the other day, I was supposed to do like a plenary speech in front of 3,000 people. Right. And the guy who invited me, he's like, you know, are you nervous? Are you nervous? And I'm like, if it's not life or death, why should we be nervous? So here's the deal, right? So when I got this scholarship to go to MIT, it was to enter this program about GIS, Geospatial Information Systems.
Right.
And I had no clue what GIS meant, but I knew everybody knew what MIT is. So I said, yes, I'm going. And I think this is a life-changing moment, right? When you get an opportunity, you just grab it with everything you have. Right. And it turned out, so GIS is everything about location, right? So and everything happens somewhere. So it's really about everything. So that experience with GIS essentially opened my eyes. I was working planner, schools, fire stations, transportation engineers. They decide where to put the highways and the exits. Working with the data providers, and one of them was NASA, right? Because you get all these satellite imagery, and how do you process it, and how do you make sense of it, and so on. And so this is what led me to NASA. So when I finished, I did my dissertation on the World Wide Web at the time, so web services, and how does it impact geospatial and getting information to each other? Because this is, people talk about big data today. This has always been big data. It's like
yeah. ML and AI is always there indirectly.
So we're like, oh, we've been doing this forever. And so that's how I ended up at NASA. It's an interesting story. So in my dissertation, I one of the prototypes that I built was, how do you take several satellite imagery and you overlay them, mosaic them, rectify them, and all of, so that you can get something when you need it. Right. And it ended up getting used for 9/11. So September 11. That prototype and that whole concept ended up being used in the rescue efforts, and that's how I got my U.S. citizenship. So I got this like, letter of recommendation that says, thank you and all of that. So, and again, it's like some amazing things I think have happened to me because, when you give it your heart, I think it always comes back. So I ended up at NASA, which was like, it's like another dream come true. And I tell my kids, it's like, this is, it was NASA Earth science. So it's not the Mars. And I'm like, we're all watching Mars now. And it's amazing. We are flying on Mars. Right. So this was about the Earth, but the whole idea goes back again. We collect all this data. The amazing thing about, remotely sensed data, Earth observation data, is you collect it once and it can be used for so many things. Right. Agriculture and air quality and climate. I mean, it's just like amazing. Yeah. So that's how I ended up there. And that's how I ended up being increasingly aware of this concept of interoperability, that we are wasting a lot of time and money trying to get this data from this and get this data from that and combine. And that's the whole idea behind standards. If we just standardize how you expose your data, it makes it easier to make sense of it, which I think what people want.
So when we are talking about it, Nadine, yeah, definitely, it's quite a lot of information, and I believe people must be enjoying hearing and knowing all these things. And it's reminding me actually about my own advanced research training. I got selected for CUNY, New York University, for how you can bring AI and ML in your social sciences, right? Now you can see these tweets, and you can run all AI and ML for those tweets, and you can find how the people reaction, feelings, behavior, and all of those you can understand, right? And even this political, all wherever you want. I feel like when you are talking about it in geospatial data, we are taking geographical location, we are trying to provide geographical location. And in same manner, when we are talking all those things and bringing these AI, ML, and in our work, how nowadays we all are aware. I think people are aware what is all about we are talking about. But when we talk about it, a new issue is coming up, ethics, ethical, right? And what is your say about this point? I know you got my point, what I'm trying to ask you, because definitely as a researcher, we always put our consent, we always say, okay, we are going to do that. But when we are working independently, or maybe people are, some, as many websites, many work, they put you as a cookies, they put you as a accept. Otherwise, you are not allowed to get into.
Yes. Yeah.
And they track your all information. It's not about only we accept social media. It's our personal interest. We come on that. We are putting, posting, sharing. But many information we want to see, we want to gather, but they don't allow us unless you accept. Or maybe if you want to reject, there are full forms. Still, you need to get into. I think they crush you indirectly.
Yeah.
So what is your say about that?
No, I think it's so Shashi, it's a very important issue, this topic of ethics, as we collect more information, like you're saying, and as we have the tools to combine information and then process information and analyze it. And that's why, so in the geospatial field, that topic of ethics, again, it got highlighted very, very much with COVID because of contact tracing, because location, because now, you're being tracked where you are.
Exactly.
Right. And at a good, from the technological advancement that we're doing, at good enough accuracy, right?
Right. Yeah.
We had actually just an anecdote. We had one of the OGC member meetings. So when we, a lot of innovators come and share some, innovations. And so there was this company who was proposing for, a certain city that they can start to issue speed tickets, right, when you're driving, but it's from space. So you don't need to deploy the cameras on the street as part of the transportation network. So you cut down that cost. And that data from space, you use it to issue. And the first reaction was like, oh my God, so now you can follow me everywhere from space. So we have to be careful, right? So this ethics, there's even in geospatial now, a whole movement, it's called the Locust Charter. So this Locust Charter is a worldwide collaboration on making or increasing the awareness of the risks of sharing location information and the usage, and also agreeing that we as technical people should also be dealing with this information in an ethical and responsible way. And back to your point, everybody's collecting everything, but at the very least, right? So here's the danger, right, with the AI ML, with location data, is that sometimes, yes, you said you click yes on a Facebook, let's say, or whatever website, I don't care, right? Or on an app on your phone. In your head, you're actually giving your information for this app, for this purpose.
Right.
But what's happening is, because we have this abundance of data, right? So you get a data scientist that sees this data and sees how valuable it is with combining it with some other data, and they start to build on that, not knowing actually that this data was collected just for this purpose, right? And I think part of this awareness that we're trying to raise is, as a consumer, you have to say, no, I provided my data for this purpose or this purpose only, because if you start to combine it with these other things, yes, if you want to recommend more shoes for me, or to me, it's like exercise clothes, that's great, I agree. But if you're gonna give me tickets from space, then I do not agree. And we start to be explicit about what you're using my information for. A lot of discussions, I think, and awareness, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. And I totally agree. Like, because it reminding me every time when you are having a new application for your, whether it is work related or whatever, just as you said, in your mobile, right? And then when you are having in your mobile, it indirectly all those applications are tracking you. They have all your information. And but same time, we have heard a lot of time how they take those data as a factory of new product, factory of new, churning up or creating something new without your consent, and where we bring these, ethics, how one has to behave and all. Coming back to your OGC, the work which you are doing, developing these maps, and different part of the world, how you collaborate, how it helps in general, different departments or different, ministers or particular area where your work is gonna help. Like, I believe maybe sometime if suppose somewhere is fire or something there, if you can provide immediate data of particular location, something like that. Could you explain please more?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the whole idea is, geospatial is everywhere, right? So geospatial is in your, your zoning and your urban planning and the locations of the school, but it's also the geospatial is, there's a lot of investment from defense. It's also, if you think the soldiers in the field, they are also getting all this data about where they are and what's around them. It's all geospatial. The drones, it's all geospatial because they're flying, where they're flying, who they should not collide with, where should they fly, not fly, where they drop the packages. I like some examples like the self-driving cars these days, right? So like the Teslas and more. The only reason they can do that is because, you have to know where you are and you have to be aware of your surroundings at the same time. So what we do at OGC, so OGC, the C in OGC is consortium. And the O is open. So it's the Open Geospatial Consortium. So it's a consortium of 530 plus members. So academia, industry, and government. And we have like the biggest government agencies from the NASAs of the world, right? To the biggest industries like the Googles and the Apple and the Microsoft and the Amazon. And we have a lot of the innovators and the small businesses and the startups. Like if you think about the space stuff that we're talking about, it's a lot of innovation, the AI, the ML, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So what we do is we do get together for the purpose of the O part is to make this data that people are collecting and producing and using fair. We call it fair. So findable, so you have to find it, accessible, duh, right? Interoperable, so you can mix and match, and reusable.
Yeah.
So that when, you know, so essentially to try to make it easier for people to use the data and focus on their problems. And we do this, eventually you end up with a series of standards, right? We do a lot of innovation projects because you have to experiment to get to a standard, right? And it becomes a lot of community, because to agree on anything, you have to have the people around the table. So there's a big social aspect to it, right? Because you have to do it together.
Right. So that's a good point you bring about like social aspect. And here we come on about being as a woman, you are in technology, in those work, how you see what kind of challenges still are there, or what you find yourself being women in technology, who is working, who is trying to keep coming always ahead. Did you find something like that, or was it very smooth, or what way?
It's never smooth. you know more than me, and that's why we can spend hours on this. And I want one day, so we have to meet in person.
Yes.
No, it's never smooth. It's like you're really you're at a disadvantage to start with, because in technology you're still today, and I tell them it's today, it's Washington DC, everything, but when you walk into a meeting, it's more than likely you're the only woman in the room, or you're the only senior woman in the room, because in some cases there are women, but they're not the CEO, or they're not NEC, they're not in the executive suite at all. Actually, I am reading a book. It just occurred to me yesterday. I love to read business books for fun. Okay, I'm a geek. So I was reading this book about like the rise of Microsoft and T-Mobile and all of that. And it occurred to me that every author of every business book I've read was from a man, right? Except for Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook. The other books have been by men. Exactly. And then all the examples in that book is just like, and he did, and he did, and he did, and he did. It's just like when they talk about there are no role models, there are no role models, right? So I think there's, and because of that, I think it's a combination. Because we're women, I think we're like, honestly, in general, more humble than men. But then when you're in these settings, you also have to prove yourself way more than your fellow men. So it's like you enter, it's like, yes, you have 3 degrees from MIT, and you've worked all over the place, but until you prove yourself, you're not taken actually seriously. The good thing is we always end up proving ourselves. This is the sad part, right? But why do we have to prove? And this is what delays us, right? So the other people get in the room and they're it, and then they start getting the opportunities or the podium to lead and share, right? But you have to first like, no, I'm here. And I tell them I used to be in aviation. I also had a startup in aviation, and it's a very, very male dominated. Like, how many air traffic controllers or pilots do you know? not a lot, right? They're still in the one, I think, the single digit
you can count it.
percentage.
Yeah.
So you go to a conference, and these are global conferences, right? And you can count the women amongst the other thing. I used to tell them, this is how I feel. And I can't tell you this because this is a casual conversation. I wouldn't say this in another like conference, but like when you're on the exhibit floor, right? I would often feel that I am standing here amidst these tall men, right? Talking, and it always felt as like, hey, I'm here too, and I've done amazing things, and actually I can help you. But it always feels as like you have to say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, it is reminding me that, even the very funny story about one giant bootman, where always the person, they are trying to keep themselves. We are also here. Be aware when you are putting your foot, because we are there. So he was basically walking and crushing, whereas it's the same feeling, right?
Right. And you have these very, very, very subtle things that, and again, there are a lot of, on the web and amongst friends, it's like, how exactly you have to talk so much louder to be taken seriously. Again, you have to prove yourself. But something as subtle, and that happened yesterday. So I'm not saying 10 years ago. This is like yesterday. We were on a panel. It's like a very simple example. It says on a panel of 4 PhDs, right? 3 men and myself. And what does the presenter do? I present Dr. John, Dr. Jack, I can't remember his name, and then Nadine. Why? You said doctor for each one of these guys.
Right.
Like, what is going on, right, in your head that's unconscious? I mean, he's the best guy ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, Shashi. It actually happens every day, but it's so subtle, right? Because like, you don't say anything and you don't even feel it. It's like an aha moment later. It's like, so that's why I say we have to do more. We have a lot. So I appreciate this forum, right? We have to do more. We have to connect with each other, because if we don't help each other, nobody else would help us.
Yes.
And at the same time, COVID has helped a little bit because we have the sort of the same platform. But I now starting to tell people, I don't know how we're going to keep this up. I mean, maybe you'll sympathize with me, but I think you will. At the end of the day, right, our jobs require, they're intense schedules, intense pressure, a lot of travel. Who is still today, 2021, has the responsibility for kids in a household? Even the most progressive of households.
Yes, exactly.
It's not. So when I travel and I see other women, right, and you talk to them, and so we always say, it's like, oh, I cooked the lunch for the rest of the week, and I prepared their bags for school, and I made sure they have all these clothes, and I told my husband to do this and this and this, right? You talk to the men, right? And it's like, call it a stereotype, but I've seen so much of this. And you talk to the man, and he would be, literally, I've encountered this. It's like, I love my wife so much. She packs my suitcase with the best size. It's like, somebody packs your suitcase? Yeah. I do everything, man. I do everything.
Yes, absolutely. Even you every day you prepare lunch and everything, and you are managing your job, your work, and even when you are coming back, sometimes you feel, okay, I expect about a glass of water, whereas you need to take yourself, open the fridge and take yourself. So these even small things are still in the culture, it's in subconscious, the training, the culture. Whether you talk about any place, it's not about particular culture, particular geography. It is about culture, man versus woman. Like why we have to put these things in that way. We need to make it correct. As you said, these are very small things when you are doing introduction, Dr. John, Dr. this, and whereas What happened? Why not Dr. Nadine?
Yeah.
We did more hard work to earn that, and maybe we are better in many ways, whether you take our academic score, whether you take about our projects, whether you talk about our work, we are more skilled, but why still we are lacking in this? So definitely, Nadine, you really bring all those very key important issues, and I appreciate because we always see technology and all these things in a very different aspect. We think these are different world rather than social society, community. But
Yes.
here, even being in one side, technology is advanced, but what about those social structure which you are having as a in your work environment is still, you are showing we are still same, right? We are still need to work.
We're making a lot of progress, but we're still so far behind. Another very simple example. So I'm divorced and my kids live with me, so this is a totally added, like, responsibility. But when I used to drop, because now with COVID, when I used to drop, I would urge people to actually look, when you drop your kids at the bus stop in the morning, how many moms and how many dads? There are dads. I'm not saying there aren't, yes?
Yes, yes,
But maybe
yes.
2 dads and 10 to 15 moms. And
Yeah.
again, I am in Washington, D.C. I am not, I think I'm in one of the most progressive countries in the world,
Yes,
but,
definitely. You are in capital where we are talking about all policy making and everything.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I seriously, I would challenge just like
Yeah.
somebody does do some research. Who drops their
Mhm.
kids off
Mhm.
at the bus stop in the morning?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you see either half of the women are dressed, because they're stay at home, right?
Yeah.
Or we're all at the bus with our suits
Mhm.
because you drop them off and you have to rush to your meeting,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So those are very important, and definitely we all like maybe small part of this we are doing now here. Same way we need to uh, work together, work on all those issues more and more, and creating our voice loud and louder in the
yes,
same way to
yes,
give that sense. Okay, you are not understanding, but we understand, and we are creating this ourselves. Enough is enough. So
yes.
that's so important. Nadine, coming on the point, you are a CEO. You are, as you mentioned, having C-suite executive class. Uh, what kind of leadership style you have? If I ask you, what is your leadership style?
I call it the cheerleader leadership style. So I don't like in a way it's like I only put myself in situations where I'm passionate about what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a genuine style to start with, right? And then I give it my all. And I think that's my type of leadership where just by people seeing how much you love what you're doing, you're believing what you're doing, and you're giving it your best, and you're continuously wanting to learn more, you attract the other people who are like you and they follow you. So that's that leadership, if that makes sense. It's just
Yeah.
attraction by passion, hard work, and this thirst to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
no,
just made that whole
that's
thing
totally
up.
no, that's totally makes sense, and I can say we can feel by your personality, by the way you are expressing and sharing, because the way you grew, the way you are today, and we can feel that your leadership style, and I believe our audience can have that same feeling, and they can learn how they can have those kind of leadership style. They can imbibe, they can bring in their personality as well. Last but not least, what message would you like to give to our audience, especially those women who are listening and watching us?
Mm. I think the message that I would even tell myself when I was young, and I tell myself still to this day, don't be afraid, right? If it's not, again, if it's not life or death, it will be okay somehow, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
don't be afraid and trust your instincts. So as women, actually, we have amazing instincts.
yes.
Trust your instinct, take that risk, it will be okay, because you're not crazy, right? Your instinct is most likely correct. So trust your instinct. That would be my message. Go for it.
That's wonderful advice. And I believe the same way, because as a women, we always say we have one more advanced sense, sixth sense, and that's I call instinct rather than
Yes.
other five senses. So
Yeah.
I go with that. And I believe our all audience, our all viewers and listeners will go in the same way. Trust your instincts and go with that. You will find your path. You will find your success. Last thing, why do you feel the platform like this, Women Dialogue, is important?
You said it. You say it better than me, Shashi. It's the voice, right? So sometimes we are all having these experiences, but we don't know if other people are having similar experiences. And sometimes just listening to somebody having the same issues, you feel better. You become a little bit more, confident and stronger. So it's a platform. The voice gives strength, and the strength gives confidence, and confidence help each other and the world. So I appreciate having it's connection, and we need that more than ever. So
Yes.
that's the platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that appreciation, that encouragement, and same time, I believe the confidence, that encouragement, and the growth keep going on for us, for all of us. And I wish you all the very best for your future projects and success. You will achieve all those success which you are looking for, and keep thriving. So thank you so much, Nadine, for being part of this platform, giving your time, and keep encouraging and motivating us as you are always. Thank you.
Thank you to you. Thank you for your time, your passion, and for this platform. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks.
And thanks to all our viewers. If you would like to hear more women voices and part of Women Dialogues, please connect with us. Please share, subscribe, like, and thank you. See you in the next episode. And I was talking about OGC. Would you like to know more? So please check the description as well. Don't forget to connect with Nadine as well. See you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.